think we're live.
Awesome.
We're back.
Episode 35?
Dana looks different.
Yes.
It's the reality
style.
style.
Did you get work done?
Yeah. This is the post. This is Avengers 4 like reality.
Mm-hmm.
Where like after they fix things, but what one thing's different. Like Dana's now a dude.
It's like that.
Or we give DC some love and say Flashpoint. You know,
Yeah,
Dana kind of
Flashpoint.
wants to be a dude.
Yeah, Dana would be fine with
That
that.
Or it's
episode of The
like
Office.
the Fresh Prince when they switched out Aunt Viv's,
Oh,
but don't
yeah.
address it.
But just
Yeah.
don't address it at all.
They totally address it.
She's
Jazz,
always
said-
looked like that.
Jazz says, "Hey, ever since you had that kid, you sure look different."
Yeah.
They do. They make one like meta.
Now, yeah.
They make one meta joke about it.
Oh, we made one. There we go.
There we go.
Call
my-
me Aunt Viv.
My favorite meta moment in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is, if we so rich, how come we don't have ceilings? And it pans up to, because you know how sets don't have
Yeah,
ceilings,
you
so
see
they
a
need to
bunch
get
of
all the
them.
They
lights.
did that?
Yeah.
They have a couple.
That's
of
like
those.
daringly
Or
meta.
when Carlton runs
Through all the sets in
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
episode and drives himself across the floor. That's the best.
Is that the one where
Anyway,
he's dancing?
that's the one where Will's girlfriend kidnaps him as part of a prank, and Carlton set it up, and then Will pranks Carlton by saying he killed his girlfriend. Anyways, guys, this is our friend Peter who's joining the podcast.
Yeah, it's not Dana. Georgina was asking, since when did Dana get so dark and turn into a dude?
It was her Hawaii trip.
Yeah.
She went on this solo Hawaii trip. A
Dana
lot of
got
things
so
happened.
tan she grew a beard. That's the result.
Still learning that.
Welcome back to another episode of the Riffsters podcast. On this episode, we will not talk about Infinity. Under no circumstances can we talk about Infinity War. That's not a hard rule.
But can we?
we can, but like we'll try not to. So the question I was saving for you guys, which now you're here, I think would be good to start talking about is, this is America. Don't catch me slipping up. Woo. What are our thoughts? How do we feel about that thing?
I think I might be in the minority on this one.
You don't like it?
I don't.
Yeah, you talk
I
first.
don't dislike it. It's just nothing new. I've seen pretty much everything he did in like other music videos and like other songs before. So it was just kind of like, I appreciate it for what it is, but like everyone who's acting like it's very revolutionary, I was like, it's good.
I guess that makes sense. I guess so. You're saying in comparison to his body of work, it's not very fresh.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's more of my disappointment is in the reaction that everyone else is getting, like saying like this is something new. And it's like it's not. It's like we've seen other people do very similar messages. Like so, if this was like in a vacuum, I'd like it a lot. But I think it's the people's reaction around it that I'm like, huh.
He's slowly getting more mainstream though. Like this last album, he really got out there. But we haven't heard him for a
I
while.
think for me, the significance in his messaging is that, like, this is Donald Glover doing it, the guy who's in the new Solo movie, the guy who we know is on NBC, the guy who premiered on SNL. Like, it's not just like some extremist guy who's making this huge statement. It's someone who literally has all of America in the palm of his hand and who's someone really lovable, who's making something so brash to the point, like, you're gonna watch, you're gonna listen to it, and, like, Donald Glover has such a following, whereas, like, if Kanye West did it, you'd be like, oh, Kanye's crazy. But for Donald Glover to do it, he has all of us, you know, and we're all fans of his to some degree, so I think that's what's super admirable about it. He could lose a lot of fans over this, you know what I mean? He could lose a lot of people who don't agree with what he's saying. So for him to go out on that limb is super admirable for me.
For me,
brave.
it's like it's only going out on a limb for fans who have not heard anything besides his music. Like if you just understand him as a person, like this completely felt like his worldview.
Sure. I think to me it feels a lot like an episode of Atlanta. Like, have you guys seen Atlanta?
Yeah,
Or at least-
I have not. No.
If you watch it, it's like it's very similar. Where it's like there's a thing that's happening that's like the main thing, and that part makes sense. But then there's weird, like surrealist, like almost absurdist touches, like weird things that you're just like, what is that? And Atlanta's like that too, where like you'll just have like random touches of like, what is happening right there? That's just like that's not like that's weird. You know, like these weird. It's almost like to me, it almost feels like a painting where it's like everything is almost normal except this part of the face is warping. Like, you know, like this old, like the Salvador Dali, like the melting clock.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of like absurdism,
Yeah.
but made like into video format.
That's an interesting comment on that. There was something on Reddit that, like, the caption was like, I knew something looked familiar. It was that scene where he shoots the guy that looks like the Colonel, like KFC's the Colonel, right? Like in the back of the head. and he's walking, and he actually recreates a propaganda poster, like a Jim Crow poster.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So it's like, I
I
think
didn't
that
see
there's
that.
a layer that...
Oh, so why did that person
time.
say it looked familiar?
Yeah.
I watched it the first time, and I was just kind of like
the
not sure
poster
how to
in my
digest
room.
it. But the more layers that you dig through, Yahoo had a great article about like the duality of everything he was saying, just like kind of for beginners.
So let me ask you this before we even get any further with it. What is your... Because this, I've seen a lot of different reactions to it. What's your interpretation of the message? Like, or like the symbols? Because everyone's interpretation of the message is probably correct or the same. It's like he's making a statement about various issues in America, gun violence, you know, media culture, etc. But what is your interpretation of some of the more... Let me throw some of the symbols at you. There's a guy on a horse riding through one of the scenes randomly. There's the shooting of the choir and the people. There's the kids on their phones recording things. There's all the cars and shit. So, like, what's, like, your interpretation of these symbols?
Well, I got yelled at for my comment on the choir, which was, why'd you have 10 members in the choir and not 9? Because that was the easiest, like, symbol in the entire video. And you just need to take one Yeah, the Charleston shooting. It's like, just take out one person. And it's, like, the perfect...
Is it possible he shot that before the...
No, that a while ago.
Oh, okay.
Like, if it was, like, a direct symbol to Parkland, like, maybe. But even then, I would assume he shot it since Parkland.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just one thing that I was like, as soon as I saw the choir, I was like, oh, he's going to do this. And then I started counting the people, and I was like... But that was just a weird thing on my part. I was like, it almost perfectly aligned.
Yeah, if
it was like 5 people, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's good. But the fact that it was a one-off was like...
Interesting. I wonder if that's what if he was specifically trying to reference that, or if that was just because the song has like choir sounds in it. He's like, I gotta have a choir.
For me, it was like breaking the facade, just how everyone views America, and then something brash will happen. And it's kind of like it gets more gritty, and that's kind of like peeling back the layer. And I think that's kind of like the surface level analysis of it, but for me, like, everything was just like a very literal example of what we saw.
Yeah.
I think on my first time watching it, I was like, this guy is like, he's hitting these dance moves really well. You know what I mean? I was like, this guy can really dance. So that had all my attention, and I was like, this song, I love this beat bangs. And then like the second time watching it, I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
The dance moves are deflecting me. They're deflecting me from what's going on in the background. So then I gave it a third watch, and I like caught all the imagery like in the background. And it's just like, what I admire most about him is he's like, he can do SNL, but he's also always open to like growing his hair out, growing the beard out, walking around shirtless, and adding almost that like, I want to be careful with my words, but he adds he adds an exoticism to his look to amplify his ethnicity. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to do that while also hosting SNL is such an extreme like juxtaposition that not a lot of people who juggle race and ethnicity can balance. You know what I mean? And I think for him to be able to do that, it's like
it's almost like he's like it's almost like he is honing in on what the visual look of Childish Gambino is versus Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to notice a difference because this is like not the first time he's done that like similar outfit and style, like the shirtless with the chain and the pants. He did that when he was performing Redbone on Jimmy Fallon too. So I think he's starting to like find this, like, this is what Childish Gambino
even
is.
Really early on with Bonfire, it wasn't as like ragged, but it was basically the exact same imagery.
So I think he's starting to find like this is his alter ego, and I think he really treats it like, I think that's cool. That's unusual for an artist to be like, this is me. He's like, overall, I think one of the most unique people in entertainment, because who I mean, I can't think of another example of someone who is like, there are a lot of people who can do a couple of different things, and there's examples of musicians being in film and vice versa, but like he's almost got a mythology. Like he is a character, and he's different characters, and he inhabits different roles, and like it's kind of what you're saying, like he goes and does SNL, but then you juxtapose that with this really, really like politically charged, socially charged alter ego thing, to the point where he like in his monologue refers to himself as, says like, Childish Gambino is here, like I feel like there's a legitimate separation in his brain versus like, you know, another example I guess is someone maybe Jamie Foxx, right, who does music and film. Jamie Foxx is just Jamie Foxx in all facets.
Also,
right,
his music career is very different. I guess it's like, hey, you want to hop on this track, Jamie?
I guess that's fair. So then, like, I guess who would be like an example of someone who you feel like besides
Obviously,
two
Miley Cyrus.
different personalities.
Or just like someone who like I'm trying to think of anyone else who even crosses over as much as he does between music and film and TV. Like I can't really think of another example of someone who doesn't.
Normally, one starts one way. Like it's very separate.
But I feel like he's just so unique in that he's been doing both consistently from the get.
Like he has such just a like he uses his reach to just challenge so many people, which is so admirable. Like if Spike Lee made this video, you'd be like, oh yeah, Spike Lee made that video. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think he would cut off half of the viewers because you would almost, to the ignorant viewer, you would be like, oh yeah, I know Spike Lee a little bit. I know he, of course, he would make something like that. But then when you have Donald Glover, who wrote for 30 Rock and like has such like a mainstream backing, and then he isolates that and uses that to like challenge what their perceptions are. I think that's just like the most admirable thing because you can lose a lot when you know what I mean. If you think about like if Colin Kaepernick did this video, you'd be like, right. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
But then it's like Donald Glover doing this is like Tom Brady taking a knee in the anthem to me. You know what I mean? It's like this guy who's at the top of the world, everyone knows, everyone likes for the most part, and then Tom Brady would just takes a knee during the anthem, and you're like, okay, is it that? Okay, time out. You know what I mean? It's such a crazy moment, especially being that he dropped it the day he does SNL, which he hosted it and performed on. You know, and then to give us a little bit of medicine, the second song he performs on SNL is just like a smooth bang. It's just like, you know, a smooth R&B song. Yeah.
So
it's like there's some medicine, but there's also like candy in it as well.
So a couple things I really liked in it that like stuck out to me, like when I got to like 4th, 5th, 6th viewings, the school children, like that the main primary dancers are all school kids. I thought that was interesting. What I started to get the more I watched it was like, because like I was. And in most things, I look for like the meaning, right? Like I'm trying to find a direct, symbol to English translation where I'm like, what does this mean? What was your reason for putting this there? What is that supposed to represent? And I'm expecting a sentence in return that says, this is what this represents. What I'm realizing with his work, both from watching Atlanta and then for this, is he's not as committed to a direct one-to-one translation. It's more like the warehouse is the canvas, and he's just like, what images can I put on here just to conjure feeling? So he's just like, school kids, that's a visual metaphor, let me throw that in there. It doesn't necessarily mean anything that they're dancing or why are they dancing versus, like, I don't think he thought about that deeply. I think it's like, this is a thing that people are thinking about, school kids, and they're getting killed, and the school kids in the same image as machine guns and gun violence and police car, like it's just like throwing colors at a wall, and I think that's super cool. And
I think it's a bit more deliberate than
I mean, I'm sure. No, it is for sure. But I think it's like there are elements of that, right? Like, which
how you put that.
Which I've never thought about art that way, because like as someone who makes music, someone who likes to make movies and stuff, I'm always thinking like, what does this represent? What is the arc of this character? What's this scene? And so it's interesting that he plays with that in Atlanta and in this, where the characters sometimes don't have arcs. They're just like meandering through canvases of weird visuals that make you feel weird things. So like that's what I'm picking up on my 6th, 7th viewings, as I keep going into it. I also really liked that he consciously makes fun of all the mumble rap and all that bullshit by actually having all those guys
he's
come
got
to
like
ad-lib features.
21 Savage, Young Thug ad-libs on there.
Which is hilarious. And then the part where he's like, it has to be a what do you call it? Like a barb at Gucci Gang, that fucking idiot. The whole like, contraband, 100 band, like that part. I'm like, he's totally like, he's like stealing that flow, being like, screw you, let me turn this into like a political. I'm like, god damn, like, and then somehow the song is still a banger, and it's like I was listening to it in the car and I was like turning up to it.
Do you think it would be a banger if he didn't see the video? If he didn't have a video?
So I watched his performance of it on SNL, not even remotely the same. Like, you don't get nearly the same. It's just a song. Like, you have to have the video. Because, like, he still has the school kids dancing, but without that first, like, gunshot in the back of that dude's head where you're just like, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. You on your toes for the rest of the video.
Just like, what in the fuck? So, like, that.
Man, I really disagree with that. Just because, I don't know, I feel like Childish has done, like, back on camp, he was doing weird shit like this all the time. So this is what I've come to, like, expect from him.
Yeah.
So that's why, like... it's just, I guess, it's not revolutionary, I guess. It's just, like, it's good. And that's just, like, the only thing that I want to...
I guess you're kind of right. In the later camp...
He's always had, like, super violent imagery and has always talked...
That's fair.
In camp.
That's fair. Because the internet, in particular, was a very dark story. Did you guys ever read the full screenplay that he wrote that went with it?
No.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I remember. I hadn't until you mentioned it.
It's
like,
kind of fucked
8
up.
months ago or something.
Like it's like really depressing, and it's about this kid, and then he like gets killed at the end of it. Like it's like really like. So I guess you're right. There has been like this weird imagery threaded throughout. I just feel like this was his most like. I feel like he didn't have the platform that he did back then.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I was about to say, I don't think he when like because the internet came out, he was like all the interviews he did around the time, he was such a burdened, or he seemingly was such a burdened guy because he was like had a uniform, was talking about how depressing. Like he had a series on Instagram where he posted like these notes
on the hotel.
Yeah, and it's like he seemed so burdened for whatever reason. You're not sure why, and then like
quit Community, which is kind of like his bright side.
Yeah, and then so I wasn't quite sure where he was as a person at that time, and then from just a blind perspective, I think he all of a sudden things started really flowing for him. Like he got this like solo role, he like dropped another album, like things like the roles never stopped for him. And so I just kind of wonder where he is as a person now, because I haven't seen too many interviews with him. But I remember when those interviews came out, because the internet was out, he was saying like, he was much more of a somber person.
Yeah,
and it was way like left than seeing him as Troy from Community.
He was real broody.
Yeah, so I want to see where he's at now.
He's still very broody.
Still that guy. I think he's just happy he's got like money, but like internally.
I think I almost feel like he had two warring personas. That the current version of him, he finally managed to like smack them together and like mainline them into one cohesive person. Because like I was watching early like Donald Glover today, like early stuff, and he's very like expressive, and he's very young, and he's very like his comedy's very like, hey guys, what up? And then he hit that period where he just got real weird and real broody, and that I wasn't a fan of that, because he was like in interviews and he was just like this. No, and then every once in a while he'd be like, like he'd literally do that in interviews, and then that was like a really weird period. And now I feel like you're right, he is that person more, but when you see him like doing his monologue in SNL, he smiles, he's got a little bit, so I feel like he took the spazzy part and then tempered it with this part, and finally with the success he's having and the confidence I'm sure he got from that, like found a cohesive singular Donald Glover out of it.
Yeah, I view him, and it's not quite a direct parallel, but I still view him as an Aubrey Plaza type character in interviews. Like any interview he gives, it's still that you don't know exactly what you're going to get from him, and he still like seems like he kind of doesn't want to be there because he hates self promotion, and in my mind, like he hates self promotion, but he's like, I kind of got to do it, and like he hates this aspect. He just wants to do cool shit. Yeah, he wants to make movies. He wants to do television show. He wants to make music, but he just kind of wants to do it and like maybe interact with fans. But all the shit that comes along with it, he does not care about. So that's why with interviews, like, yeah, he can be personal and stuff like that because he's just like that guy. But I think most of the time he's just sitting there like, why do I gotta be here?
Yeah. I think he lost that youthful sort of spunk that he had.
He was a behind the scenes writer. He was like, people didn't give a shit about.
And I think he was getting that vibe that people weren't taking him seriously because he was silly.
Yeah,
I really feel like that's why he's cool as shit on the silliness, because I don't think people now people treat him like
if you look at Weirdo,
it
is a weird stand-up special.
Yeah, it really is.
Go like Weirdo, Troy Barnes, and then they were like kind of putting him in this like childish thing, but it was a hard dichotomy to promote camp while doing like Troy Barnes. I think he steered into the camp, and then that evolved in the series of like Instagram posts he did. Then he seemed real damaged when he put out, was it Koi, his mixtape? Yeah.
That was peak brooding. Gambino, I think.
And then he completely just changed like what Childish Gambino was. He dropped all the rap for Awaken My Love.
Yeah, for the most part. It sounds like he's leaning back towards that a little bit with this, at least. But it's just his, I don't know, he's such a fascinating, to track his like character arc, as a human being. It's so like fascinating to see like where he's gone. And I kind of feel like maybe he purposely went way more serious to get people to take him seriously, and now feels comfortable leaning back into the comedy with SNL, because like I don't know if you guys watched some of those sketches. A lot of them like so much Troy Barnes in that. Like, like the Kanye sketch, the Kanye place.
His monologue where he like he walks up to Keenan and he's like, "Oh, this is a chef's kid. What you cooking?" And then he takes a drink, and Keenan's like, I was washing rags in there, man. You're gonna get sick. He's like, oh, don't worry about me. I got a tummy of steel. And he walks up to the next guy and he burps. He's like, oh, tummy problems.
Yeah.
Like, that's Troy Barnes.
Yeah.
1000.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was like, welcome back, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy to see it. You seem like in a much better place. You can channel that guy.
He's just like one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Like outside of people I know, he's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
So like, I just love seeing him do well.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see him happy, to be honest, but not forced happy. Like with the Lando role, great casting, looking forward to it. But it seems like he's like brooding, and Disney's putting a smile face on him to like put some personality. But it like I look at all the footage of it, and I'm like, that's awesome that you're in that role, but it doesn't feel like you want to be in that role, especially with the promotion.
I think it's more the promotion, because I was watching a video of like on Disney Channel of like
The Cape
tour.
Room.
touring the Falcon, and I was like,
It didn't feel
like
like
he's
he wanted to do
smiling
that.
here, but not here.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like I don't. It's gonna be weird seeing him do the promo and like press for.
It's gonna feel fake though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
like when I hear Simba's voice. Like Simba's not cool to me.
Yeah.
Like, because Simba's always the reluctant hero, like kind of thing, and that fits in. But like, Donald Glover just like drips coolness,
Yeah.
and I don't put Simba as cool. That I'm like, it's really hard for me to like
That'll be
get
interesting.
over that. I'm like,
That's gonna be.
I'm
I
just
don't see Don Glover as someone who drips coolness. I see him as just like, no.
I think
even him now, I just like.
for me,
I've
it's
never
like
been
he
a big
shows
fan of
his
Childish
weirdness.
Gambino, though.
He like shows his weirdness. He shows that he's like fucked up in his head, and like he's so willing to show that side. I guess that's like I'm just like you're so fucking cool.
I think he's the opposite of Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling won't take risks because he's very like cool and collected. I think Donald Glover is all risks, but he's so cool and collected because of that. Like you expect him to do something really weird. You disagree.
I disagree that Ryan Reynolds has never taken a risk.
I'm sorry, no,
Because
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, yeah, sorry, you did say Ryan Gosling. I misspoke. I think he's done like if you look at his filmography, there's like plenty of different roles he's taken, and
But he always kind of centers around being like the Jacob from Crazy Stupid Love. He always kind of has that. With the exception of, what was the Russell Crowe one?
The Tusk guys.
No,
That was
yeah,
very.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
very against type
Yeah.
for him,
Yeah.
and he played that well.
Yeah.
also like that's very different than who he was in The Notebook. And then you also look at him back in like Remember the Titans days, and then you also like, which is different from when he was on like the Mickey Mouse Club. Like I don't know. I feel like
I mean, like personality wise, like take him in any interview, he plays the very
Yeah, I see what you're saying. He's like,
cool.
Well, in
that's
the interview,
sarcastic,
that's who
like,
he
subtle
is.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's who he is as a person.
I just want to see like an hour-long interview with Donald Glover. Like, I want to see like, I don't know who I'd want to see like mediate it, but I want to see just like, I want to know where he's at, and like, and you know, with someone like him, you know, every move is probably calculated, and so with moves like that, I just want to know
Everyone
like
who has
what's the
like
plan?
anxiety and stuff, it's so in your head that you need everything planned out. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
If this person understood Childish Gambino, which based on interviews I've seen with him, I don't think he fully does. But if he did, I'd love an hour-long Stephen Colbert interview. But he was on just a little while ago when he bought all the Girl Scout cookies. If you saw that one,
I saw that.
I know you like celebrity interviews. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Stephen Colbert knows how to handle him
Yeah.
as an entity because he is unique.
I would love to see him on a podcast, like a Nerdist podcast or something, like or a Mark Maron. Actually, would be really. I don't know if you guys listen to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF podcast. He's particularly fucked up in the head. Like he's very. What's the best way I could just like describe it? Like, okay, he's basically like he was a comedian that came up in the scene, never got onto SNL, never like had a proper career, tried to make it in movies and TV a little bit, never quite did it, has launched an enormous second career as a podcaster and is probably the primo interview podcast to the point where Obama showed up on his podcast.
He did alright in like stand up.
He did okay, but he never did like he never got that Will Ferrell track. You know what I mean? Like he never got that
Yeah.
or the Mike Myers. He never got into that lane. So he kind of like he's talked about he had Lorne Michaels on his podcast and they talked about his audition for SNL and but he's just weird in that even though he's having success right now, he's still got a lot of bitterness about what he didn't achieve. Even though people like Jennifer Lawrence came on a show me the podcast. I highly recommend this to anyone who like is interested in this stuff because she's like she comes on and is immediately like, I'm a huge fan. Like I've watched your stand-up special. Like she can quote lines from his stand-up
Of his.
and he's like he does that thing where he's like, oh my god, wait, really? But like, tell me about like what did you like about it? Like you can hear his insecurity like all of a sudden his brain goes, I don't know how to handle this interview anymore. And it's like a great interview, but awkward, but comfortable, but weird. Anyway, I think he would be the perfect person to interview someone as neurotic as Donald Glover, because I feel like they would bounce off each other's insanity in weird ways. I think a podcast is where you would get what you guys are looking for.
What about him on the Riffsters podcast?
Yeah, free invite, buddy. If you're for some reason have nothing better to do than to troll the internet.
No, it's the sixth stone. That's why they're all trapped in the mines or the soul stone. He comes on the Riffsters 5 minutes later.
We have 6 live viewers. It's very possible that one of them is Donald Glover.
I like to think so, and I like to not know the answer.
I like to not know the answer. So the response, talking about the response to this video, like it ranged for me from like hilarious to just like awe-inspiring. Like that he had in the awe-inspiring side of things, his Instagram, he posted on his Instagram, the level of star power that like commented on his Emily Ratajkowski, Diplo, Terry Crews.
I appreciate she was your first of star.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that one first.
Mine too.
Whoa, her
Diplo, I did that in a weird order actually. I did that in a completely bad. Anyway, a lot of crazy people that were just like, "This is insane." So I'm like, "What a like collective like +1 for this that like endorsement of your thing," and then just everyone else's reaction on Twitter, like just the general reaction of just like. People just doing like spamming the goat emoji, you know, like
yeah. I was actually like at Target, and I don't get great Wi-Fi reception in Target for whatever reason. My phone doesn't connect. Anyways,
I got a problem with my bank phone.
Yeah.
That's
as I was walking out, I see just on my Twitter just a bunch of like Donald Glover tweets and like a bunch of like people saying this is America, and I'm like, huh. I was like, I wonder if like he must be killing SNL, must be doing a great job. And then I get home, and then the first thing on my YouTube is like the music video. And as soon as I see that gunshot to the back of the guy's head, I'm like,
yo.
Like immediately had me. I was like, okay, now he's on something else. Like now I got another thing I got to think about. And then you know what I mean. Then as I watched it more, I was like, okay, I can kind of vibe with this because the song's good at the very least. So like you know, he's bringing flowers to the door first. Like the song at the base of it is good. And then I finally got to more of it where I was like, okay, I can get behind this because did with Donald Glover after his whole brooding point. Because I never really liked Childish Gambino as a rapper.
Yeah.
I just don't. I never thought he was that good early on.
Sure.
I thought he was just too heavy on punchlines, and so like when it comes to music,
I think you've described him as corny before.
Super corny. Yeah.
In his early days.
Yeah, and so like when it comes to music, I kind of always like, nah, all right, what's he doing? But this time he got me just because the music was good.
He's like mellowed out in his music too. If you go back to his early stuff, he's very like high pitched in his voice, and he's very like. It's just too much. Like he's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna get you, and I'll get you, and now
he wants to attack you with music.
Yeah, and now he's mellowed out into like this is America.
Yeah,
like, and he did that on because of the internet too. I feel like a little bit, and then he really found his freaking singing voice like on Redbone when he like.
Oh man,
like,
yeah.
Just,
did you see his cover of Tamia? I'm So Into You.
Yeah, dude, he kills this. I think he should do more stuff like that.
Yeah,
so, anyway.
Pretty amazing. Like those are two different muscles.
Very different muscles.
Yeah. Just transition them under the same banner.
Just the fact that his singing Redbone is not processed vocally is like absurd to me. Because when I heard that song, I was like 100% this is a featured vocalist or like they tweaked his vocals and they. I don't know if you guys know what a formant is, but you can adjust the formant to make your voice sound more female or male in post. And then I saw him perform it live, and I was like, no way. Like,
is he doing all falsetto?
It's I don't understand what it is because it's like the level of it's the height of falsetto, but it's with like a raspiness of like open voice. It's really bizarre. Like
I would say like what you hear on the album is probably like 90-95%.
I think so.
It's like there's definitely work in there, but when you hear him like on a talk show performing, you're like, okay,
it's like close. Like I'm not like it doesn't sound anything like the. Speaking of the hashtags, I thought what was funny is someone tweeted like. Donald Glover is currently trending on 3 separate hashtags, and he didn't kill anybody or have an affair or insult anybody. Like well done. Because he was trending for Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, and hashtag This Is America at the same time.
Oh, man.
I just, like, if I'm being honest with you, and the 6 people watching, and then the world that's watching eventually when we're popular, my ego took, like, a massive blow on Saturday. Because I just
probably Sunday the
aftermath. Yeah, I mean, I'm still living with it because I was just like, as an aspiring creative and someone who wants to be at that level, I'm like, I'll never do this. Like, I can never achieve I could never imagine myself putting something out that had that level of like star power reaction and the level of response and love and like endorsement. I mean, I hope I get that one day.
Yo, singing Porg, dude.
Yeah.
How many million views did he have? Did he get picked up by Nerdist?
Yeah, I don't think so. But like I don't know.
I gotta see that video.
You gotta see that clip, man.
Is that just me maybe, or like probably? I think like it just hit me real hard where I was, as a like aspiring creative, I was like, gotta go back to the drawing board on everything. Gotta rethink it all.
Probably in that angle, probably hit you harder than maybe the three of us, but the way that he delivers things in contrast to Kanye is incredible. Dude, he just put that out with no comment, just kind of like positioned it really well on SNL. Kanye is a big talker, but he like under delivers. Dude, Childish Gambino doesn't say a fucking word and delivers.
Oh, what was it? I'm gonna butcher the words a little bit, but my girlfriend's like put on Facebook today is, can we retire Kanye and bring up Childish now?
I saw someone post like I can't believe it's 2018. I can't believe we had to lose Kanye to get Childish or something like. Why are we upset about losing Kanye when we got Childish?
When one Kanye closes, another Childish opens.
Yeah. Someone else tweeted something funny too. Someone in regards to
Probably
Kanye.
hurt in Peter's feelings though.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Stay strong, baby.
It's all good. It's all good.
He'll come back.
You can't have a LeBron without a Michael Jordan, you know?
In one of his in one of those notes that he wrote, like those the broody period
Yeah.
notes that he posted, one of them was like, I'm scared I'll be Tyrese Gibson. And then someone was like brought that back today, and they were like, yo, Donald, like Tyrese just posted some like corny ass video of him in the studio with R. Kelly. Meanwhile, you're hosting SNL and like are killing the game. Like, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I thought that was, because I forgot about those notes, you know. So I hope that was kind of funny. Iligo says, or Glover on the Howard Stern show would be interesting. But I don't know if Howard Stern would.
Howard Stern would dominate the conversation, and Don Glover would willingly sit back. And just be like, I don't know.
I really feel like Mark Maron, or just a podcast in general, someone interviewing him well on a podcast would be like, because the podcasts are way less like talk showy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you saw the video when he was on Sway and his freestyle.
Yeah, the pound cake freestyle,
where he just like stops and just
that was
deep
peak
conversation.
brooding Childish Gambino too.
Dude. When he's just like, you know, we're all trying to get the money, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's like, because there ain't nothing more important than the moolah.
Yeah,
and then you're just like, oh no, we're still doing it.
Oh no, we're still in it.
Up.
Yeah.
And then he just ends it. He's like, I like that beat. And you're like, no, you can't be that casual after you just committed murder.
There seemed to be such a shift, and this is what I admire about him most, is that like, I don't want to get too far into it, but there seems to be such a shift in like, he was Donald Glover and he had his stand-up and he had Community, and then he made his album, and then he all of a sudden was claiming like ethnicity a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which led to not led to the broodiness, but in that period of like brooding, and because of the internet, and like all of a sudden he started dressing deliberately worse than what he did to prove a point.
Yeah.
To prove that he's Donald Glover, even though he could pass as like a random homeless guy.
Yeah.
There's this interview I was watching with him on The Breakfast Club, and he had on like a floral shirt, a ripped cardigan, and some shorts. And he was saying he could walk into an office and someone would be like, "Oh, do you need help? Is someone expecting you?" Versus if it was a white guy walking in, they'd be like, "Oh, he's from Brooklyn." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think there was a moment where he just kind of claimed it a little more. Mm-hmm. And the crazy part about it is, as he claimed it, he then got the role as Simba, and then he got more, and like nothing ever stopped for him professionally. And I think he saw that as like a platform of like, I've reached this point where I'm almost colorless, and that I can still be casted for whatever I want to be, but still have the platform to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
And he has it's a talent to have such a deliberate route to be able to communicate something as touchy as race and ethnicity and diversity, but also not be seen as just a black guy or a black actor. Because at this point, he's way past that.
Yeah.
I mean, versus if you look at someone like...
It's also weird because he was called too white for the entire beginning part of his career.
Yeah,
Like, Yeah, like that was like one of the main criticisms that he faced early on in his career is that he wasn't black enough to do music, and it was like, what? Like,
yeah, he said he cited it in a couple of songs where he was like, I'm trying to remember the exact lyric, but
break.
They're telling me I'm too. Yeah, I think it's where he's like,
or Bonfire also does it, but yeah,
they're like telling me I'm too white for these black kids or something like he quotes it. And it's like, I think you're right. I think he just kind of like figured out like who he was. I think he figured out who he was in the white black argument, or like
even though to my knowledge he's not even mixed, right?
Not in that sense. Not because he's mixed, but just like I think because
it's like mainstream appeal, mixed with like a black audience,
and because he was a nerdy
and
black
messaging,
you know,
and he grew up with a wealthy family in a primarily white neighborhood, and it was like.
So I think he finally made his peace with his identity. I think you're right.
Yeah, like it's so hard to try to like have a voice in that realm, but also be a mainstream success. Like Spike Lee, going back to him, like his films are dubbed Spike Lee joints, right? And so with that dubbing, it's like, oh, you kind of presume it's gonna be like a story about like a black come up, or it's gonna be something that like black people relate to, and maybe other like minorities as well. But like it kind of is like education, but also can be isolating at the front end of it. And I think Donald Glover has such a crazy area where he can literally make This Is America and have it speak to everyone, and have the average like middle America white kid really bump that song without feeling uncomfortable about it. You know what I mean? And he's not isolating anyone while doing it. He's like subjective with his messaging, but objective with how people take it, which is something that like it's a hard balance to achieve.
Paint on the canvas.
Yeah,
very deliberate with that. How do you think Disney is reacting to This Is America?
Oh man,
the thing is like, there's no negative criticism. Like I know there's always talks of like in your bubble, but like the friends I had growing up and like family and stuff I feel like I get reactions on both sides very easily, and there is no like blowback from this song, which is another reason I'm like kind of like, because like anytime there's a politically charged song like this, you kind of expect something, and there hasn't been anything.
I think that's what I was kind of talking about. I think that's the effectiveness of that idea of just painting colors on a canvas in a more abstract way than a specific way. Because like, what's the specific clear version of this video? The guy in the chair is got a Trump wig on, or is painted orange, or like there are things that would have been like, this is taking a stance in a political Republican Democrat way. Somehow he made a video that's insanely political, but is apolitical. Like it's such a weird paradox, because I don't feel like I'm being pushed one way or the other when I watch it, because it's a little bit less. I think you're right. I don't think it's like, I'm not saying it's fully abstract. There's definitely like a point to it, but I don't think it's as harshly or specifically honed as a shot at any particular person. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's like the imagery is just kind of like, this is what's happening. Like, and it's neither. It's not taking a stance either way. It's just like, this is America. Like here's the diorama.
Yeah, glass shatters.
But typically when someone presents that argument, usually just people say, "Well, if you don't like it, go." And that would be a very,
I guess,
easy argument. And it's just I find it interesting that there's nothing to this song. It's just like, why, kind of thing.
I think the most political image, which is so subtle that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people that it would offend actually missed it, is that, because I didn't even catch it on the first couple of watches, was both scenes involving the gun. The second he kills whoever it is in the scene, he puts the gun like this, and someone rushes up with a red velvet cloth and takes really good care of the gun. It's like this message of like, the guns are taken more, and meanwhile the person's dragged out by their feet.
Right? Yeah,
so I feel like, but that's so subtle that I feel like maybe the NRA folks or the people who like would be offended by that, I don't even think they noticed it. But because the rest of it is just so absurdist and abstract in that way that it's, I don't know, it's weird, man. It just like doesn't feel like he's hard taking a stance. It's just kind of like, here are the action figures. Like, this is what it is. Feel how you want about it. Right. Which is an interesting way to go, I think, if you're making political statements. Because I'm trying to think of like other art that people have made that's been like, and the other interesting thing is there wasn't really like a hard feminist push in it, or at least not that I've seen upon rewatching it, because Because I feel like that would have been another thing that's like, okay, I'm taking a specific stance here. But he kind of just like puts stuff out there and just kind of like, this is what it is. Like, I don't know, take what you want from it. That's what I'm feeling watching it. And it seems like if you're not sensing a lot of backlash, it's either because people are too dumb to understand it, or they're just, it's not firing shots as aggressively, which is a really like, really smart way to do it. Instead of coming out and just bashing people, you're just kind of like presenting them. It's almost like holding up a mirror. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like this is like the funhouse mirror of what you're looking at.
Right.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Damn, I feel like I'm on fire in this podcast. Do you feel that too? Like, do you ever?
Are you feeling me right now?
Do you,
Yeah.
do you ever say?
Blue fire coming out of his avatar.
Do you ever say something and the ball just leaves your hand? You're like, that was a swish.
Dude,
Yeah.
when you said this is America.
Funhouse mirror.
We play hot potato. You pass it the ball, we pass it right back. I'm assuming you saw that skit, right?
Yeah. The other Cavaliers. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was-
in his monologue
didn't
when he
air.
finally like goes to blow the clarinet and he just vomits. It's like so much Troy Barnes.
I'm gonna watch that.
It's just, I like that Kanye
even
plays.
that I like look at his outfit in the monologue. I'm like, okay, that's a nice blazer, but it's kind of big.
Yeah.
Those are really wide leg pants. What are you telling us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything he does, he just like, and it's kind of fatiguing to a point where I'm just like, all right, now what are you saying? You know what I mean?
I really like this line in his monologue where he was like, I'm good to be back in New York. Like, I was poor here, it sucked.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm rich, it's a lot better, you should try.
Yeah.
I was like, well done, man.
Yeah.
Well done. Dude, he's I don't know, he's interesting. He's just creating conversations, you know what I mean? Like that's I feel like what everyone should aspire to. I saw a lot of like finally real art. And like when I think about that song, I like the thing about that song and that video is it made me go think about the 50 songs that I'm currently working on right now, and I was like, none of these seem important. Like
As impactful. Or,
yeah, I was just like, damn. Like, what's the point of this? Like, why am I doing this? Or like, why is that movie even important? Or why even make a superhero movie? Like, which obviously, you know,
Because it's the best movie of all time.
sure. Which obviously was an extreme reaction. Segue to infinity. But I don't know. It was just impactful. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to me that you're not as like hot on it.
It's like, as I said, if this was in a vacuum, I'd be super positive about this song. It's literally just seeing everyone's reaction, like, oh my god, and I'm just like, I don't know. It was just like, this felt very par for the course. And it's that part of that of like not taking a hard stance, so in my opinion wasn't super risky, because it was, I don't know, like when you do stuff absurdly, like no one can really hold you to it.
Right.
And like we'd seen the violent imagery before. Any message he gave out, I was like, this is 100% what I expected Donald Glover to say. So like nothing surprised me in the way. And his audience is younger, and we've grown up in a politically charged environment, and of like, so it's just like the message he'd be reaching is people who have like are already like willing to listen. Like it wouldn't like make any bridges or anything like that. So it was just like, it was a very good song with a very good message, but it's been done before. It was
It's like not
my
changing
only
any
thing.
minds.
Yeah, like it even uses almost the same feel as that song, which I wasn't even a big fan of I'm Not Racist. That like viral video that happened.
I remember
it's
that.
almost the exact same thing. And even that, I was like, this is a conversation that's been had multiple times, and it's the exact same thing, only dealing with more like violence as a society in America rather than race in America.
Let me ask you guys this, because this is, I put this in our Facebook chat, so maybe you already saw it, or the conversation, but I'm just curious on your thoughts on it. Like, and we kind of touched on it, but like, because it kind of goes on with what you're saying, is people's reaction to it has kind of almost even dampened it for you. I can resonate with that, because as much of a fan, and I say this as like a huge fan of Donald Glover, but I'm kind of, the question I was posing in our group chat was like, when did he become a god? Like, when did that happen? Because the Childish Gambino / Donald Glover that I remember was like not taken very seriously at all. We touched on some of this, but like, I guess the question is, at what was the thing, do you think, that kind of brought him? Because yes, I agree with that. It was a grind and he worked hard for a long while, but there's always a thing that takes you from under the water to above the water and into the sky, right? So like, what do we think that was? Because now it seems, you're right, no matter what, he could like put out something dumb and people are like, it's Donald Glover. Like, it's the best thing ever. Like, it's obviously the greatest. Like, he's on another level. He's so good at everything. Goat. Like, what was the thing?
So I'm going to counter both sides. I don't think it was a grind, and I don't think it was a one thing. I think it was the fact that all around the same time, we had Redbone, Atlanta, casting for Lion King, casting as Lando, like, all at the same time. So it was that one moment rather than one thing, but it was the culmination of all his hard work in all his avenues of directing and writing, music, and acting, just going all at once.
All together.
And so you were just bombarded with Childish.
And then, like, Golden Globe and...
Yeah, and you...
Like, and him being realized for those efforts.
Mm-hmm. And that was just casting news for Lion King and Lando. He was also starring in Homecoming. He was... starring in The Martian, which was like his performance was like particularly celebrated in that movie.
Which I didn't understand because I was like, he was in it for like barely like, and he's fine. Like, he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's basically just like smarter Troy Barnes. So
That's
like,
a good way of putting it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, like, kind of eccentric.
That's what I was saying is like, I don't understand. Like, his 2 movie roles before that were
the time where he trips was improvised. He wasn't supposed to trip, but he got up and kept doing it.
Yeah.
Well, mind blowing.
awesome.
No one's ever done that before. Slams hand through glass.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
But also, he was doing some writing for 30 Rock. He was on...
That was the early days,
yeah. 5 seasons of Community,
Still
which was on
early
NBC. And then he also put out Camp, and then Because of the Internet. So as a fan, I'm like, okay, Troy Barnes, Exposure, Childish Gambino, Because of the Internet, and then just as Jack said, like, he exploded with all these, like, simultaneous things.
I guess I'm just trying to understand
How you do it.
But how exactly? Like,
what are the steps?
That's really what it's about, Julian, is you want this like narrowed down to it's that finite, not abstract thing
Kinda.
that you're just like, what was it? Because
Kind of.
I don't need like the steps to get there. I just need to know that it was a thing that happened.
I guess
a lot of
I'm
exposure.
interested in the X factor a lot. Like, I'm interested in the magic dust that takes people from, like, what separates, I think, people that are doing the same thing, and what is the thing that takes one person and spikes them out, right?
Starting to mumble on rap.
Yeah, I guess, right?
Can't tell who's good at it.
yeah. But that's what I'm interested in. Like, I'm particularly interested in that, like, the Because the Internet drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he dropped that album, that was a much more mature album for him, and there was a lot of good songs on that. But he was kind of
Because the Internet.
So do I. It's like, but it's very under the radar, right? Like, that just flew into the same category as, you know, a lot of the other good rappers of the time. But somehow now he's in the Kanye conversation, and regardless of how you feel of Kanye, that's basically one of the biggest figures in the game.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
somehow now with one song, I guess, kind of maybe 2 if you count Redbone. Somehow he's now it's this conversation.
This is America.
And people forgot people forgot Kendrick Lamar even exists. So like what happened? And like, yeah, he was in The Martian. Yeah, he was in Homecoming. He had like 5 minutes of screen time in both, and they were like very okay, like very fine. Like, no part of me saw the scene with him in Homecoming and was like, this is the best part of the movie. Have more him, please. Like, I love him. He's great. But like, what happened that all of a sudden he's a god who walks amongst men and he's better than Kanye?
I think you think about it, well, for me, as a huge Kanye fan, I'll defend him forever. I know it's been tough lately. I'm still trying to find ways to grapple with it. But I think, like, Kanye's power for a long time, music, whatever, headlines, it's always been relevancy. And if you think about Donald Glover, since he's been here, he's been relevant since we saw him. Whether it's in Community, whether it's music, whatever movie he's in, he's always been relevant. And when you start off with being with 30 Rock and Community, you kind of have like a really big reach. And then from there, he kind of looked at who he can reach was essentially everybody. And then he all of a sudden isolated his fan groups and was like, I can make this for this, this for this, this for this, and I'm going to make Atlanta for this. And then after that, each, like, underneath that umbrella of Don Glover fans, got the Gambino fans, got Atlanta fans, and you got, like, Disney behind him, and then you got, like, the Star Wars fans behind him, which that's even, like, an even bigger group.
That's true.
You know? And then along with that, there's projects in between that continually keep him relevant, and we can always go back to him being, he's real funny. You know what I mean? And that's, like, the most endearing part of anybody is, like, if they're funny. So he has that likability. Like, he started at, like, 100 HP, and with every risk he's taken, every project, he's been, like, okay, maybe it's at 95. Like Camp came out and it like got terrible reviews on Pitchfork. So he's like, okay, now it's at 90. Oh, but actually a lot of people still liked it. So now he's back to 95. So he's always teetered. He's never really lost many points as much as he has just like gained points by dividing and conquering where he sees.
He can bunch of fan bases just like
If you were to narrow it down, like even though I said it was the culmination of all these things happening at once, it was definitely Atlanta.
I think so.
That exploded way more than Redbone.
I think
even
so.
though Redbone was on the radio and became a meme and like all that stuff. Like that is the moment, but it was all.
I forgot it became a meme.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that.
What was the meme again?
This is what Redbone would sound like if.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot, because that puts you in the zeitgeist immediately to become a meme. I forgot about
Cash Me Outside, how about that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. I think it is. The only thing I can name is Atlanta was the thing that launched him, and then I think all those other things.
Because it's also considered one of like the greatest television shows of last decade.
Yeah.
Like, and he created that. Like in his head, he was able to conceptualize all that weird shit that goes on in Atlanta while keeping it grounded and keeping it normal.
And I think you're right. Like he had all these different things for different people that he was slowly pushing, and then I think Atlanta becoming the lightning rod, and just like all these things sucking to him and just propelling him higher and higher on what you were saying, like that one moment where he just all these things fired him into the stratosphere. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know. I think it's fascinating to track someone's like trajectory for when they shift from man to myth, because he's more mythology. And then he is a person now. Like he's entered that realm of like, you say the word Spielberg and it's mythology. It's not a human being anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because he hasn't made a good movie in a while, but
but somehow he still keeps. But like it's just like he's gonna become a verb. Like he's gonna become.
Yeah.
He's become culture. You know?
Do you think it's Childish Gambino becomes a verb, or do you think it's Donald Glover? And do you think that they're like equally as like important?
It depends on.
You guys see Friendos, by the way?
Yeah,
that's great.
That was really good. Therapy.
It's interesting that Atlanta, which is an incredible show, but it's like it's a black show about a black lifestyle in a black city, but it's not on BET.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got major backing because it's on FX. Mm-hmm. And it's got major backing because of the pull Donald Glover has with his fan base. And so he has all of us watching it versus like just us or just you two or just like, only black people who like there's probably equally as much diversity amongst audiences who watch it, which is something like if you think about like the 90s, you think about the Wayans brothers, you think about Martin, you think about My Wife and Kids, you think about like all these black TV shows that were only on black networks or like daytime TV when there wasn't like, like Family Matters or something. But this is like, and that's what I love about Black Panther so much. It's like, that's a comic book, but it's also like a deliberate like story that's being told with mass production on a huge major budget that brings in everyone to come see it. And I think that's why both shows and why Donald Glover is so important to the time is like, he is someone who stands for like, more than just like the storyline of it. It's like this guy who's almost colorless while promoting his color at the same time.
So this is going to be a tangent, and I knew we said we wouldn't talk about Infinity War, but do you think Black Panther coming out a couple months before helped or hurt? Because Infinity War was going to be a massive movie regardless, right? Like it was going to make $1 billion in a couple weeks, no matter what.
Yeah.
But do you think it took away because like it just had this giant box office hole, everyone saw it, and now it's like, are we going to keep seeing it? Or was it the perfect lead-in that people are now excited?
I think it's perfect.
Because I agree with that. Because that was everyone's concern is like, everyone like, we just put $1.5 billion into Black Panther.
Yeah, it's
what
like,
are we gonna do?
When I think about Black Panther, too, I mean, it's an extreme example, but if you think about just the political environment that we live in, the social climate, imagine like, if MLK gave his I Have a Dream speech at Disney World. You know what I mean? That's like Black Panther to me. Like the major backing, the budget behind it, the cast and crew who's working on. That's not just like, you know what I mean, a BET production making like a Black Panther movie. It's like, oh yeah, that's okay. But like if MLK had Disney World behind him, then his outreach would be even bigger. And like it might with that backing, it might even be
who he was.
It might even be framed in a different way. You know what I mean? Instead of like MLK and Malcolm as being like divisive figures of like he was fighting for this, he was fighting for this, and all of a sudden it's like. With you know what I mean? If there was like a major backing behind him.
So you bring up an interesting point. Do you feel like there's an element of that the appeal of something like Black Panther or the appeal of something like Atlanta is that it's how do I say this? Like it's like a show or a movie that is it's a show or a movie first, and then a black culture event second. Like it's a movie that happens to be entirely black actors and black women and men behind the camera and
right, and then by default the positives come and the messages come. You know,
because I feel that way about Atlanta, where I'm like, I watch Atlanta and I can't relate ostensibly to any of like.
But by default, you're learning about Atlanta.
But I learn about Atlanta.
Yeah.
But there's also things in it that are super universal, and I never watching it feel like this is a black show.
Right.
Whereas like if I watch something like if I watch a Tyler Perry movie, or you watch one of those movies that comes out that's like, you know, those movies that cater to specifically that demographic, it's like I don't have an entryway here because I don't know a lot of the jokes. This is like if someone made a movie about Persians and like all the stuff that I know growing up as inside jokes, and you guys are just like, I don't understand, right?
Right.
I mean, to be fair, My Big Fat Greek Wedding is the highest grossing romantic comedy of all time.
Is it really?
Yeah, and it's like exclusively the Greek experience, which is a
Really?
very small population. Also, my one concern with like Atlanta, particularly Atlanta, less so Black Panther because it is a major event, was Atlanta to me was the show equivalent of people saying they voted for Obama. It was like, yeah, I watch Atlanta.
Yeah.
That was like my only like.
Yeah.
It felt like people would be like, I kind of get a pass because I watch Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which is like really gross because it's such an amazing show. You're like, don't take that. That was like my only thing is like some people would be like, it's fine. I watch Atlanta.
That's super.
That's an interesting point.
Because also the network's reaction to where everyone was like, because I was reading this article as a profile on him, and he was talking about how like a lot of networks now he's overheard conversations of like, so can we just do like Atlanta but for Mexicans, or like Atlanta but for Asian, like like it's such an obsessive thing now that all the networks are like in it in a very cynical way now, where it's like, let's just recreate. It's like you can't, like that was a unique thing that he did that came from the heart, and FX took a chance on it. But I do feel like a big portion of its success is that it's a human story that just happens to be set in a city that's predominantly black in Atlanta, with black characters. You know, versus like a Tyler Perry film that's like, no, this is for the black audience. You know,
so I'd say it's like it's more authentic though, because Fresh Off the Boat was catering towards like the Asian experience.
Right.
Watch that; it was so offensive because it was such a caricature. All the
actors
were caricatures of themselves.
Yeah.
But not like they didn't believe in the show. I feel like Donna Glover adds some like legitimacy to like this is the art.
If y'all have seen Blackish, that show is amazing.
I've heard that's really good.
That show is
my favorite show on TV.
Incredible.
I've heard that show is really good. Did you guys see the trailer for
the talent show episode?
What's it called? Was it Crazy Rich Asians? Did you see that trailer that came out?
Yeah.
Nope.
So that I feel like is the like other end of the spectrum to Fresh Off the Boat, where I feel like that's a good example where it was like, this is just a story that happens to involve an all Asian cast.
Yeah.
And it's called Crazy Rich Asians?
The title doesn't.
It's a book. It's made off of a book. Yeah.
But it's like it's not a character. Like there are characters in there that are like interacting. I'm like, this is totally like I know my friend like is exactly like that character. You know, but it's not like the Fresh Off the Boat caricature of what an Asian mom sounds like. You know,
it also helps that their protagonist is also Asian, and she's going into this experience. So like she is the protagonist or lens that we're watching it through.
She's
so
also the mom from Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah. So like it's almost like it's okay that we don't know this. It's okay that we're learning this about our culture for the first time. But if it were like a white actress like in this scenario, then I'd be like, because I'd almost feel like I'd have to be on the other side that I can't identify with.
It's almost like I think it seems like the common thing is tell a human story first. Like human being first, ethnicity second, and then it's almost universal. You know, and then it can expand because then when I'm watching like Crazy Rich Asians trailer, or when I'm watching Atlanta, like I'm not seeing it in terms of like race. Like I know that's a really like corny line, but like
I don't see color.
Yeah, but like I'm not seeing it like that. Like my first interpretation is like the story, and then my second interpretation is like, oh, there are also a lot of like Asian actors in this film or black actors in this film, and I feel like Black Panther was cool in that regard too, because it was a superhero film first, a cool narrative first, and then a black celebration of black culture second.
I think
you remember the theater when we went to go see it, like
for sure, because of the event of it.
Yes.
But I think the fact that we could all go and enjoy it, even though like I don't make that connect, that's not my connection, you know.
Oh, that was amazing.
It was incredible. Yeah, because it's just a celebration of just like story, you know, and like culture.
So I would say it's different. Like I've seen bigger excitement, like for the premiere of Force Awakens or for Infinity. Like I've seen more excitement, but I've never seen happiness like the premiere of Black Panther.
Yeah,
I think there has to be at some point like a balance of somehow being able to express, like speaking for me, there has to be a way for me to express that I'm Asian without being like, oh, that's Peter, that's our Asian friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you see me as that, then then I can't be your friend anymore because already I fit into a caricature of what you expect me to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we're friends, all of a sudden I'm telling you about the food my mom makes at home. I'm telling you about what I grew up doing. All of a sudden there's diffusion to my culture, but you're also just being my friend. And that's like candy and the medicine. You know what I mean?
Nice.
The candy is being our friendship. The medicine's being you learning about me and I'm learning about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As we grow.
Yeah.
And there's a talent I think that Donald Glover has, to bring it back to him a little bit, is that like you can put on for your culture without bringing the exoticism to it. You know what I mean? Like the talent between Black Panther and Atlanta is like it's an objective view of like what Black culture in Atlanta is like. It's like, okay, this is like they did their best to put on for like Africa's like continent and like the different cultures of it without it looking so exotic to a point, because I feel like when you market ethnicity and race, you have to make it like kind of sexy, and like that's when the stereotypes come from. You know what I mean? When you add that exoticism, like if my first day at work, you see like I come in and I have Chinese food, and then all of a sudden like I'm eating sweet and sour chicken, and then I have wontons in the microwave, then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, like you
That's
might not
Asian,
say it,
yeah.
but that, like, you know what I mean? Like that's an Asian guy.
Yeah.
Versus like continually just being me, and then you slowly learning about me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of Black Panther in Atlanta and Donald Glover as a whole. It's just like you, by default, you're getting a great story, but in that story, you're learning more about a culture, and it legitimizes the story in its own. Versus just like having like if we redid Friends of all Black people, it's like, what's the point? You're selling the same story, it's just Black people, and it doesn't make a big difference. But if you if you compare like Atlanta to Friends,
Also,
it's like
Friends
different
sucks.
area. So
Whoa.
Like objectively, Friends is an awful show.
Whoa. That's
I don't get how that's objective.
that's hard subjective.
Yeah,
That's
Oh, you just look at it and it's terrible.
whoa.
No.
It is so dated.
Whoa.
It is so
Doug Cal is asking, do you think Luke Cage succeeded at the same thing, just on a smaller Netflix scale, or did it screw up somewhere? If so, where? In regards to...
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't watched Luke Cage. I'm sorry.
You guys haven't seen it?
No.
I've told you the only Netflix Marvel thing I've seen is The Defenders, and it's because you guys had me watch it with
That's
you.
true. That's true.
I only watched
I
New
haven't
Girl
seen
on
it, but
Netflix.
I think the reason that
come
we
on.
haven't seen it, it's a platform issue rather than like a personal issue. The story we just haven't been able to like be exposed to, but Black Panther was an event. You know? It's like this music video was an event, like on Twitter and everything. And I think Luke Cage was one of the Netflix original shows that got put out, but the next week has another one, and so it didn't have like the time for us to watch it.
But
So it
Blackish
could
on
be very
ABC, that show does it. Like Anthony Anderson does a great job of breaking the fourth wall with every interlude. Like he has this one episode where he goes to the elevator and he sees a little white girl in the elevator, and he doesn't know what to do because like he lets the elevator close. Then he goes to an aside. He's like, okay, before you guys judge me for letting this little girl go in the elevator by herself, I didn't want to make it look like I kidnapped the little girl, because that's completely plausible in this situation.
Yeah.
And then it goes into like a whole backing of it. And then like every episode starts with like an awkward situation, then like the history lesson behind it. You know? So
Yeah.
it's like, that's a great show that does, I think, ideally like shows a great balance of like story and then also like context and like education by default.
Nice.
It's cool, man. We're living in a cool time. Like, if you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it all the negative things. You can also look at all the positive things. And if you're looking at all the positive things, we're living in a really cool time where, like, I feel like everyone's culture is starting to blend in this really cool, like, I'm learning about your thing, you're learning about my thing. Things that weren't in popular entertainment are now in popular entertainment. You know, like I think Black culture in particularly is getting a big spotlight right now with a lot of this stuff, but you're also seeing it, like, it's also opening up doors for other minorities, like the Asian, you know, demographic, and like it'd be cool for me. This is the one I don't think has been touched yet, but it'd be cool for me to see more like Middle Eastern stuff coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
Like they had that
In a good light, though.
Yeah,
It's been shed in a negative light for the last,
but not even in a
15
good
years.
light. And I'll explain. There is a show called Shahs of Sunset, which is about these rich,
they're
ridiculous Persians who live in who are just like absurdly rich, and it's basically the Jersey Shore, but for Persians. And like everyone when that came out was like, "Are you like bummed out by this?" And I was like, I love this so much because for once, people don't look at me and think terrorist. They look at me. I would rather them look at me and think
oil baron.
Yeah, like shallow rich kid than terrorist. You know, like, and it was at least a different characterization than the. So like
That's progress.
It's
kind of
progress.
sad, but it's progress.
super sad. But
Yeah.
like it was that's a commentary on the state of things. But like I'm excited for this wave of like culture that's going to hit the mainstream from every aspect, from Middle Eastern to Asian to Black to South American to Mexican. Like I'm excited for all this to like keep welling up because it's exploding right now and it's awesome because we're getting such diverse stories.
Yeah. There's a demand for that cultural diversity, and like we're voting with our dollars. Like Black Panther hit $1 billion, was it? And so it has movie executives
almost domestically.
Yeah.
in a gross way, but it has movie executives saying we need a Black Panther, but a Filipino. It's like that's a horrible way of putting it, but also that's progress.
Yeah.
And so like that like we're voting with our dollars.
Jaguar. Write it now.
The Dora the Explorer movie is coming out, and that's
I'm
gonna be
really sad that Michael Bay is
I'm
attached
bummed.
to it.
Oh, is Michael Bay attached to it?
He is.
He what? No, that was like rumored.
No, he's producing it.
Are you
No,
sure?
I
He's not a
think
director. He's not a
I think
director.
he jumped off.
I promise you, he's producing it.
Because like we jumped
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
bandwagon as soon as we heard the news right away, and then like a couple of days later, it was like, oh no.
Does
this
he have
is-
like a deal with Nickelodeon or something? He's done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Transformers. Like Transformers, not Nickelodeon.
Was
thing, but-
TMNT originally a Nickelodeon thing?
No, it wasn't. He was bought by Nickelodeon in 2012.
Yeah, like the
Okay.
OG
The other show.
TMNT wasn't,
I was
but like
yeah.
the new age.
Yeah,
Nickelodeon.
yeah.
I remember those
Michael Bay is
puppets.
in
I
that.
fucking love those puppets.
Michael Bay is was part of that.
It's his production company,
Is it?
Platinum Dunes.
Nice.
Huh.
He's not like writing or directing it, but it's his production company.
Live action film?
Gonna
Yeah.
have explosions then.
They cast the girl.
Oh, wow.
It's the girl from it's the
Don't
girl-
say Logan. Don't say.
no from Transformers 5,
I
Oh.
haven't seen a Transformer since.
which I think is great casting.
That would be good.
But what's the swiper? What's like the who's playing swiper?
What's the sign?
Yeah, who do
Jamie
we got
Foxx.
here?
Yeah,
Oh.
That'd be pretty funny. Who could play Kevin?
Or is he a
Kevin?
is he a weasel or a fox?
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart.
Oh
plays
my
Swiper.
gosh! In big red boots.
Cash
Wait,
check
real-
now.
No, Boots is in red boots. Swiper's in purple.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
Wait,
He's a fox.
he's a fox, not a
He's a
weasel. Okay,
Kevin Hart.
then I stand by my
100%.
Jamie Foxx joke.
Jamie Foxx.
Even on that, Donald Glover's been able to brand himself. Unlike Kevin Hart, who's like always gonna be the funny guy.
Yeah.
And if he takes a serious
Behind
role, you're gonna
Dwayne
be
The Rock
like, all
Johnson.
right, this is weird. It's a serious role. But like Donald Glover can be that funny guy, but also, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's because he's so cool.
Though, did you guys see that J. Cole's music video, Kevin's Heart?
yeah.
That's pretty good too. I think it's a pretty good video. And it's a little bit
J.
more of
Cole
a-
getting slept on once again.
Yeah, dude, J. Cole gets way
Cody,
slept on. I think we're about out of time. Peter, you're new to this, but we sign off with a news anchor sign off, but it's completely improvised, and you have 3, 2, 1. Look at the camera. Sign off.
Here with the Riffsters, I'm Peter Chung.
Oh, there we go.
That was pretty.
That
good.
was really good.
3, 2, 1.
I'm not going to talk about Infinity War.
3, 2, 1.
Swiper, no swiping.
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
Michael Bay.
Good one.
That's all I got.
Julian, you
I used
know
to work
your
at a news
last
station,
every
man.
time.
That's what I do.
I know.
Yeah, he's got it.
We got 2 comments though asking about a sponsor.
We did just sign off.
We did.
I honestly paid out of pocket for this.
yeah, it's almost out of
I'm
pocket.
not gonna lie.
We
Yeah,
had
do you
great
validate
personal
parking?
costs.
We do not.
Oh, well.
That's on you.
Oh, okay.
We'll have a sponsor next time. We will secure.
I appreciate that
sponsors
people
with you.
are asking.
But I'm
about
glad.
it.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So we'll get a sponsor coming in the next episode because we got to pay for
Forever battle.
we got to pay for this studio that's not my apartment.
Lights turn off.
Thanks for joining, guys. Next week, same time, same channel. Potentially different Dana. But anyway, see you later, guys.